I feel like with this team, we should talk about Anthony Edwards all the time. This week, we actually have very good reason to. We'll also get into some Tim Connelly intrigue, the NBA schedule coming out. We already know Christmas Day. That's an interesting one. Also want to talk about the Minnesota Lynx, what Cheryl Reeve has done with that roster. They clinch another playoff berth. Of course, they're probably also going to clinch the first seed and have home court advantage throughout. So they've had a fascinating season. This is the John Krasinski Show. He's John Krasinski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. Best way to listen to this show or any of our shows at TalkNorth.com, including our new fantasy football show, Mark Rosen's show, Ryan Shaver's new high school football show, Dawn Mitchell's show with her guest Anthony Harris this week, is to subscribe to your favorite podcast app. And we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio.
Scott for Aquarius, your authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Yes, water is essential, but what if it came with sparkle and zero hassle? With Connecticut, enjoy softer skin, shiny fixtures, spotless dishes, and worry-free drinking water. It's home services made easy with 36 months, 0% financing during our state fair special. Schedule your free water analysis at AquariusHomeservices.com. Financing based on credit approval. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
John Krasinski Show is also presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood and Giggly THC Beverages. All right, let's get into Ant. What's he up to these days?
Yeah, so first of all, he is heading to China with Adidas, and this is going to be his first trip to China on the promotional tours. We've seen the NBA players do that forever and ever, kind of go over and really maximize and leverage their huge followings in China. James Harden, I think, is there right now, and he just gets massive, unbelievable crowds. And I would assume that Ant is going to do that as well. It's sort of the next step in his ascension in the league. And, some people may say that sounds kind of crazy, but it's not. China is just such an enormous market when you're looking to become not just a star, but a global star. I mean, being stamped in China is a major thing. So he's going to get that experience. I'm sure it'll be interesting. But most importantly, I think for Wolves fans and what they are kind of following, just looking for anything in these dog days of August to chew on and think about going forward for the season, is that the Wolves social media put out some pictures of Ant and some video of Ant working out at the practice facility this week. And what I can tell you from talking to people around Anthony Edwards and just kind of trying to get an idea of his mindset this summer and going into next season, is one of the priorities that he has sort of emphasized with his teammates this season or this summer is he wants to see as many people in the practice facility in Minnesota working out as possible. And so I know that he has been here periodically throughout the summer on multiple occasions, kind of trying to walk that walk and set an example for the importance of just, hey, getting together in Minnesota, working out as much as we can. I think with some of the material that we saw yesterday, Johan Berenger is there. I know that other veterans and young players have been in that gym for a lot of the summer. A couple of the executives that I've talked to have just said it's been a great gym. But I think that Ant really sets that tone. I mean, if your star player is there and working out and doing it often, I just think it's a good sort of message to send to the rest of the guys, because I think Ant also has seen what it's done for Naz Reid, for Jade McDaniels, for guys who have stayed in Minnesota a lot over the last couple of years and how their games have improved. And so just kind of like a little bit more leadership from Ant on the court, in the locker room, by setting that tone and being here in Minnesota on several occasions throughout this summer, even as he has all of these other obligations and things to fulfill.
It's obviously a good thing to do. Should he have done more of it in the past?
I think so. He has been back here in the past, but I do think that it was a recognition from him after 2 straight exits in the Western Conference Finals that, hey, what else can I do to try and go that last step? And when he evaluated sort of what has worked for him and for this team, I do think that he has looked at what Nas, what Jaden, what some of these guys have done by sticking together in the summer and how their games have improved and said, hey, maybe that is something to emphasize this year. And so we have seen other players, we have seen other teams in Minnesota that just completely disappear in the summer times and don't come back and are never around. But I think that wasn't the case with Ant, but I do think that this is a recognition of the more time that we can get together, the better, because I do think that one thing that this team grappled with for much of last season was that sort of familiarity, chemistry, kind of intangible with the trade before the season started, with everybody trying to get on the same page. I don't know that they ever really felt completely locked in together with how things are going, or with how things were. And so I think this is partly an acknowledgement from Ant of, yeah, we need to do more of this. We need to be together more. I know another, Dante DiVincenzo is essentially living in Minnesota this summer, and he's been around a lot. Like there's just, I think that there is a more concerted effort from Ant, but also from everyone else, outside of Rudy, who lives in France, but but everyone else, just to try and get in front of each other a little bit more, try and build together a little bit more. And yeah, I think it probably didn't happen quite enough over the last couple of years, and Ant's trying to change that right now.
Whoever's living with Rudy in France, I hope they're just randomly throwing breakable objects at him just so he has to practice catching the ball. Hey, here's a plate. Here's some fine china. I'm about to drop it. See if you can catch it. Is Julius Randle in town and working out with Ant?
So I don't know. I've seen Julius Randle. He is definitely getting workouts in. He's kind of posts the works that he does on social media. A lot of it seems to be where he's doing things in exotic locations as they travel the world. I know he had an anniversary that he was celebrating with Kendra, his wife. He's doing stuff. So what I don't know and what I need to check on is if he has been in the gym in Minnesota getting anything done, because he had told us at the end of last season that he planned on spending a lot of time in Minnesota this summer, just in terms of getting his kids settled in, just being a family, doing things like that. But I've also only seen his social media presence has been, taking wonderful vacations and doing all the things that NBA players do. He just signed a huge deal, so he has a lot to celebrate. But I assume and anticipate that he has been here. I just got to check on that a little bit more and see that confirmation, because we haven't really seen much of him in the gym, just in tangible video or photographic evidence so far yet.
Let's get to more on China. And I actually have some Beijing memories I'll share. I can't remember if you were, did you cover the Olympics in Beijing?
Not in Beijing, okay. No.
So
I was in London, yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of things to mention about that. First, Giggly THC beverages. Just took a quick long weekend vacation with my wife. Drank some whiskey. 2 nights I drank whiskey. One night I felt good. The next day I felt like death. And it reminded me how lucky I am to have something like Giggly THC beverages I can have at home on a random school night where my wife and I are both going to go to bed early. The dogs are going to get up early. And when I drink Giggly, I never have that risk. I wake up, I feel great. I bounce out of bed. I'm ready to do stuff. No lethargy, no hangover. I feel healthy because it's low ingredients, natural fruit juices, ashwagandha, ginseng. It's about the healthiest thing you can drink that you actually enjoy drinking. Highly recommend Giggly.com. Use the promo code GigglyNorth to get it up to 50% off your first order. After that, you'll be able to find more promo codes. They'll make it easy for you. They'll deliver it to your front door, or you can go to any Quick Trip in Minnesota and get it. Giggly.com. Highly recommend all of their products, especially for me, their cocktails. John, tell us about Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
I covered a number of Olympics, and one of my strongest memories, other than seeing Usain Bolt running up close, was the way NBA players were received in Beijing. They were the superstars of superstars. It was like the whole Olympics were staged around NBA players being in China and the Chinese people getting a glimpse of them. And that was an Olympics where there were a lot of other great things happening, but it really struck me that this was an unusual event for them to get to see all the NBA stars in their country.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredibly passionate about the game and about the star power that these guys bring. And, this sounds incredibly like reductive, but just the sheer volume of people that are there and the atmosphere that creates is incredible. I mean, there's shots of James Harden this week walking in a mall in China. And I mean, thousands and thousands of people are like sort of cordoned off, but like, hanging from the rafters, just screaming their heads off like they're, pop stars and trying to get a glimpse. They go to these outdoor, arenas and courts. And I mean, there are 60,000 people there that are just want to see him do a little exhibition, one-on-one or, play a little bit, and do some tricks and hit a few shots, and they go absolutely crazy over it. So, I don't know exactly why it has hit that way. I mean, certainly we've seen, the way that they've developed the leagues, the Chinese basketball league, Stephon Marbury's presence over there. I've talked to Steph in the past about what that's like. But it's truly the most voracious appetite for not just the game, it feels like, but for just the stars themselves and having any sort of proximity to these people. Ant is going to draw a crowd wherever he goes, but over there, I just think it's going to be absolute insanity and crazy. And you can see like the players recognize that they understand how important it is, and it gives them some wind in their sails and certainly some money in their pocketbooks as well. But like just the experience of being that level of famous in that country is, I think, a level that we don't see anywhere else.
I agree. I hope they get to see the Great Wall too. It's mind-boggling what the Great Wall looks like. What do you think Ant is or should be working on individually this summer?
Yeah, I think what, he has sort of been cagey about what he plans to do. He said it in the past, I'm going to be like Houdini and I'm going to come back with some magic tricks. And, we've seen it. We saw it with the 3-point shot last year. He really went into the summer emphasizing catch and shoot threes, making threes, and he comes out and then leads the NBA in 3-pointers made. So I do believe that this year, when you look at what happened to them against the Thunder, it's going to be emphasis on mid-range game, on having more counters for the double teams that he faces. And one thing that I think really hit home with him in that matchup against the Thunder was that no matter what they threw at Shea and to an extent Jalen Williams as well, what they had some sort of answer for it because they could score in that mid-range elbow area. And it just made it really, really hard for the Timberwolves to completely take them out of games. And for Ant, it was easier for the Thunder to try to make things difficult on him because, if you can take away his three, or at least make that a difficulty, and then give him size at the rim, make things difficult for him there, his mid-range is just not where it needs to be. From a percentage standpoint, I think he's one of the worst mid-range shooters in the league per volume. And, he's a great shooter. So it's not a question of can he do it, but I think it is a question of how does he get to spots where he can feel really comfortable and then knock down shots to end runs to just kind of get things going in the right direction. It's sort of the last counter that he needs in his bag, like to really become the kind of player who is a threat everywhere. And so it was clear to me, and I think to the Wolves and to Ant, that the Thunder strategy through that series was, we're going to try and take away the three, we're going to try and take away the rim, and we're going to make things, if Ant beats us in the mid-range, if other guys on the team beat us in other ways, we're going to shake their hands and go forward. And the Wolves just couldn't counter that. And so I do believe that when Ant shows up at the end of September for camp and we talk to him at media day, I think he's going to say that the mid-range game was where he kind of put his emphasis, mid-range, and like maybe even some low post stuff to back to the basket to kind of operate and really dictate the rules of engagement on offense a lot more than he does in his current state.
The fact that he generally doesn't get superstar calls when he goes to the basket, do you think that leads him to wanting to go to the basket less, or is there a different way he can go to the basket that might lead to better calls for him?
Yeah, I hope, what I hope does not happen, Jim, is I hope he doesn't kind of look at the way that Shea got calls, that other stars get calls, and say, I'm going to mimic that. I'm going to be more of an embellisher, more of a flopper. I think that one of the admirable parts of Ant's game is that he is ethical in the way that he does it, in the way that he attacks it. Now, he has had great frustration with that, and I think a lot of times rightfully so. And so what will be interesting to me is, can he remain patient with that and hope and kind of expect that now going into year 6, with the kind of resume that he is building, that he is going to start to get the benefit of the doubt on some of these calls that he hasn't gotten before. And I don't know if that's the recipe. I don't know if that's the right thing for Anthony Edwards to be doing, because it is clear that so far what he has done has not worked for him. And you and I can both say, or anybody can say, don't worry about it, Ant. Don't worry about it. Just play. But that's really hard to do, especially for someone like him who does take so much contact at the rim. I mean, it's not Shaq, but it's on that Shaq plateau of, maybe he's just so strong that referees don't notice all of the contact and what it does do to him because he kind of plows through it. So I understand why he gets really upset with it. Now that I think the next step for him is probably going to be trying to find different ways to talk to the referees, to figure things out so that he can start to get a little different perspective on the whistle. Because I do think the complaining has not been good for him. And I think the Wolves in general are viewed by referees as complainers, and that's not a good place to be. And so how they do that is going to be kind of key for him going forward too, and taking that final step. Can he get to be a 30 points a game guy? Well, one of the ways that he can do that is by getting more free throws and getting more calls at the rim. But if that doesn't happen, then it's a lot harder work to get to that level.
Yes. Hey, we're going to get to the schedule. The Wolves' new G League coach. We're going to talk a little about the Lynx. Our Twitter questions about Connelly. We'll get to all that here shortly. Do want to tell you about TSR Injury Law. You know the deal by now. They take care of their clients. They don't charge you unless they win your case. They win a lot of cases. Great business success because they help people. It's the best kind of business success to have. It's the kind of company we love to be affiliated with. They've been one of the biggest boosters of this show, one of the first sponsors, one of the most loyal sponsors we've had. So we just want to say thank you to TSR Injury Law. If you ever need their help, just remember 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. And now I want you to hear from Royal Credit Union.
Royal Credit Union is your trusted advisor for all your business banking needs. Whether you're starting or growing a business, Royal offers a full suite of business account and lending solutions to meet the needs of your business now and into the future. Royal has business checking and savings accounts, business certificates and money markets, treasury management services, and business loans. Choose Royal Credit Union as your business's financial partner and get started today at rcu.org/royal business. Insured by NCUA. Loans subject to credit approval. Equal credit opportunity.
And John, tell us about Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Go to Bill Princeton's shop in Maple Grove for an incredible variety of everything that you would need for beverage related going into August, getting ready for, hey, we're all going to be celebrating putting our kids back in school. Let's go to Princeton's Liquors, pick up a craft beer, pick up a little bit of bourbon, pick up a little cocktail so that when we are sitting on your deck or on your patio on these last waning summer nights, pour yourself one, relax, and think, my kids are going to be back in school pretty soon, and I'm going to have a little bit more time and a little bit more peace and quiet around the house. But Bill Princeton and the Princeton family have been in the liquor business for decades and decades. We love to support local around here at Talk North, and they have been a great supporter of ours. So go into Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Tell them the John Krasinski Show sent you.
Let's get to the schedule. The full schedule will be out. We'll talk about it next week, but we do know that the Wolves are going to play the late game against Denver on Christmas Day. How much does that matter in the NBA realm? How much should that matter to fans?
I mean, it does matter, Jim. I would prefer that they don't, just as a family man who, kind of has to work and do these things, but it is clearly a status symbol to be on Christmas Day with the league. That is sort of like the league's launching point for the rest of the season. The first month and a half leading into that is there's some pomp and circumstance, there's opening nights and things like that, but really it's Christmas Day, even as the NFL infiltrates it. But that's the big day for the league. And so if you are playing on that day, it is implied that you are an important piece of the NBA puzzle. And forever, the Wolves were not even close to playing on a Christmas Day. They would never sniff it. Now with Anthony Edwards, with the success they've had, now it's gotten to a point where you're surprised if they're not going to play on Christmas. And so I think, it's an incredible matchup with Denver. I think it's one of the, the budding rivalries that people don't really pay as much attention to, but they played in the playoffs. They played, through the regular season. Now you put them on Christmas, another kind of showcase event. It will add to that group. I will say, Jim, I do think that the Wolves could rightfully say this game should be at home, just given the success they've had against the Nuggets, given that they have been more successful on the court in the playoffs than the Nuggets have the last couple of years. And I think that the Wolves have earned being at home, but they want a late game. They wanted a 9:30 start. And so they're going to start it in Denver there. And so there's that. But hey, when you're on Christmas, on this league, it is a stamp of approval from the NBA that you are one of the teams that we expect to draw fan interest, to get people talking about the league and talking about the NBA. And so the Wolves have arrived there now. This is a place that I think they're going to be for quite a while, as long as they sustain this and as long as Anthony Edwards continues his ascension.
Tell us about the Wolves' new G League coach.
Yeah, so they have not officially announced it yet. It's been reported. It was first reported by HoopSite, but certainly confirmed that Mahmoud Abdel Fattah, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but he was hired to coach the G League team. He is he's been around the block as a coach in kind of the developmental or leagues. He was with the Sydney Kings in Australia last year. He was the 2022 G League Coach of the Year. He spent time in the Rio Grande Valley Vipers kind of petri dish, which has really produced a lot of coaches throughout the years, including Chris Finch. So he has a background there. He went to St. Cloud State University, played for the Huskies. So he has some Minnesota roots, and we all love the local connection around here. But he replaces Ernest Scott. I didn't know Ernest very well. But he was there for the last 2 years in Iowa, and now they're going a different direction with Abdel Fattah. But a very interesting story, a Muslim Palestinian coach, which is a rarity. Certainly, I think he's the first one in the G League, and so you don't see as many with his background. But given the state of the world today, and even more significant, I think higher. I don't think that that played a role really in the choice, but he is going to be charged and having an important job, Jim, for the next year at least or more. Johan Berenger is going to spend time down there. I'm sure Rocco Zakarski is going to be down there. They have young players. Leonard Miller. They have young players that are going to be there that they want to have their skills developed and get ready for the NBA. And so he's going to have responsibility on his shoulders. And it's an important choice that Chris Finch, Tim Connelly, everyone is making here by appointing him. And so I'm looking forward to meeting him, looking forward to hearing a little bit more about him. But I think that there was a time where those coaches were, not exactly a high priority for teams around the league. But now I think it's really important to get the right voices in, that they get the right approaches in, because the state of the NBA, with the way that the collective bargaining agreement is written, where there is so much turnover, especially on the back end of your roster, you just have to have people that are doing the right things in your G League team to develop your guys, get them comfortable, and get them ready to play. And Mahmoud is going to be on that plane as well now and get that opportunity.
In our last segment, we want to get to the bosses of the Lynx and Timberwolves, Tim Connelly, Cheryl Reeve. Right now, though, we're going to hear more about True Vision Institute.
True Vision in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com. I've been telling you about it for more than a year now. It can be such a help for your lifestyle. Yeah, I went in and I had LASIK surgery last July. And a year later, I'm still seeing incredibly clearly. I'm still just being able to kind of navigate life without the hassles of contacts and eyeglasses. And most importantly for me lately, as a guy who hates sort of meetings and hates having to set up all of these different, checkups and things like that, I no longer have to go in for a yearly eye exam, for a yearly, new glasses, new contacts, and all of these things. I have that scratched off my list now. I see clearly, and it's all thanks to the good people at True Vision. So you go to truevision.com, set up a consultation. You will go in and you will just be gobsmacked by how wonderful the people there are to work with, how easy it is to get things started, and how you find the right vision correction methods for you and what works. And there's no pressure. They are just there to help you and get you to the right place. And once you're there, it's a truly life-changing experience. So True Vision in Bloomington, truevision.com.
And we'd like to thank, for all their support, Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
sglambchops.com is the place to go, and use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything that you get at Lamb Chops. What do you get at Lamb Chops? You get the best casual wear that you can find. Hoodies, shirts, sweatpants, shorts. I'm wearing a pair of their shorts right now. They're the best shorts that I've ever worn in my life. Super comfortable. Everything that you get from Lamb Chops is ultra high quality, stylish. You can wear it out on the town. You can wear it lounging around your house, and you feel good either way with it. And so if you use the promo code JONK20 at sglambchops.com, you will get 20% off everything that they have to offer there. Jordan and Craig and everyone, big parts of this community as well. We love supporting the businesses that invest in our community, and Lamb Chops is certainly one of those. sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off.
And Shepherd Goods Lamb Chops is sponsoring today's Twitter question, which we will get to in a second. It's about Tim Connelly. Let's start, though, with Cheryl Reeve and the Lynx. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how often they have been unable to add a high quality player through traditional means to the roster, and yet they keep winning. Now they traded Diamond Miller. Elisa Pilley, another high draft pick, was not able to contribute much at all. Nafisa Collier was a 6th pick in the draft, which in the WNBA usually means you're going to be kind of a role player. They miss out on Emma Meesman. They end up with Carrington instead, and they just keep winning. And now Collier's hurt, and they just keep winning. It's first of all, Reeve does deserve credit as a general manager for finding players like Alana Smith and Courtney Williams and Tisha Heidman, who have contributed greatly, who were not really star players, and yet they have. And the signing of Kayla McBride obviously worked out very well long term. But this is just not the star-studded roster that some WNBA franchises have, and they're winning at a much higher rate than anybody else in the WNBA since the middle of last season. It's quite a testament to Reeve's coaching ability.
It is, and it really is both here on in this season, Jim, because she goes and makes the deal for Carrington, and that she's going to be a fit from a defensive standpoint, from the tenacity standpoint, from all of those things. You did wonder, okay, the shooting isn't great, so how do you kind of fold that in? And then you get to the coaching aspect of what she's doing, and it's clear that they were prepared to give Carrington a role that allowed her to be a star in what she does. And it's not asking her to do things that she can't, but is also emphasizing everything that she can do. And so this is, increasingly feeling like sort of a destiny type situation for this season, because they make the deal with Carrington. Then, fee goes down, for a little bit. And I think that opens up a little more opportunity for Carrington to just really get thrown into the mix and play a lot, which will absolutely help her onboarding process for the playoffs. And I think she'll be in a much better position, and the team will be, even more, even stronger because of all of this. And so for so long in Cheryl Reeves' tenure here, especially in the previous iteration of these Lynx, you said, well, they had the best team. They had the most talent. Of course they're winning. And I think now we are starting to really kind of see how she builds a culture within her team and a standard of expectation that is being met. And so now it's certainly, you need very talented players, and Collier and Williams and Alana Smith and all these and Carrington, everyone, they're very, very talented. But now Cheryl Reeve has been here so long and has adapted through so much, and now has established a new sort of parameters, but it's still the same expectations. It's still the same competitiveness. And so now you see other players who maybe were not always as well known or thought of coming and rising to the occasion. And that's just the mark of a great coach. And she's been incredible, through this. And I think this is one of these last 2 years now are one of the more enjoyable, I think, teams to watch, because of that fact that they don't overpower you with Maya Moore, Lindsay Whalen, Simone Augustus, Sylvia Fowles, Rebecca Brunson. Those are all Hall of Fame players, and they were incredible to watch, and it was super fun to watch them. This is a team that wins by playing great basketball, that wins by playing together, connectivity, defense, raising each other's level. And it's just a really, it's fun, and it's cool, and it's highly entertaining to watch, and can't wait for the playoffs, and I can't wait for Fee to get back and really get going again. It'll be super fun.
Most great teams have had some measure of luck. And if they hadn't lost a game, weren't trying to lose, they wouldn't have gotten Maya Moore. They wouldn't have gotten the first pick. If Cheryl didn't have a relationship with, the Thibodeaus, I don't know if she could have engineered a trade that would have brought Lindsay Whalen home. Simone Augustus had been injured. Once Cheryl came, she was a very healthy She was always a great player, but she was a healthy, great player after she got here. They got Rebecca Brunson. So many of the moves they made that made a big difference. There was some element of luck or timing in their favor. They've had really no luck here. There's nothing lucky about this roster and the players on it or the way they've played. They obviously had bad luck in that final game in New York last year, and yet here they are. They're by far the best team in the WNBA.
Yeah, and I think that the other element that has emerged here, and I think will continue to help them not only this year but going forward, is when you have a player like Carrington, highly thought of, really talented, and it wasn't clicking the way that I think everyone wanted it to in Dallas. And so then for her to come here and immediately sort of just fit in and play incredibly well and impact winning at a high level, other players around the league are seeing that. And that, we saw where Sylvia Fowles wanted to come to Minnesota. Like there's a lot more of these instances that are going to keep stacking up of, man, this, she was really not happy at place X and got to Minnesota and look at what's happened. And so players talk to each other all of the time. And so the ability to kind of help a player find their footing and accentuate their positives in a way that Cheryl has done here with, many players that have come through the league, but certainly the ones that weren't just drafted and developed here, but traded for and allowed to blossom. I think Courtney Williams in that group as well. Like, I just think that those types of situations are so impactful in terms of the recruiting game, in terms of like helping set this thing up for, just continued success, because it's a franchise that people want to play for. And it's a place where they know they come here, they can make money, and they can win a lot of games and be, have a great following doing it.
Let's get to the Twitter question.
Yeah. So this week's Twitter question, and let me see here if I have it's a long, name that I'm sure it's not the person's, real name, but Jasmine Whale Wannabe, asks, why haven't we re-signed Tim Connelly yet? And, I just think it's a nice, way to end this one in terms of this gym is feeling a little bit more, and more like the Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah situation, where I think everyone believes and everyone has said the right things, that a deal is going to get done, that everything is going to, happen, and they're going to, and Tim is going to stay here and be fine. But the fact that it has not happened yet is just notable. We just have to talk about it because, this is typically the very deadest point of the NBA offseason, and everyone leaves and goes on vacations. I think A-Rod was in Europe. Tim, I think, went overseas for a little bit with his family. Like, everyone's kind of scattered. So I don't get the sense that there's any sort of thing standing in the way of it, other than just everyone getting together and hammering out the final details and getting it done. And like Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, which it did get done with the Vikings, I would be shocked if something didn't happen with the Timberwolves. But it just hasn't happened yet. And so until it does, we'll just keep monitoring it. But from every person that I talk to, connected on both sides of it, I don't think that it's a situation where, anything's falling apart or there's some great impasse or anything like that. It just is something that is assumed that we're working towards. There's no pressure on it. And so it will get done, in due time. But until it does, until he's signed on that dotted line, we'll just kind of keep mentioning it every now and then and just monitoring the situation as it goes forward.
Yep. Good question. Good show, John. Thank you. Thanks to everyone who listens or watches. Again, you can watch these things on this and the Viking Update Show on YouTube, as well as listen to it through talknorth.com or your favorite podcast app. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to everybody who's made this network thrive. We do appreciate it. And we will talk to you next week.